So to look at the different products that we offer, as I said, we look at the overall reputation monitoring, but more importantly, we look at the review lifecycle. So you've got the reviews that you're getting through the surveys, the different sources that would then go into your reputation monitoring area, and then you'd be able to market those through the meta review widgets that we provide, and that may seem like a foreign language right now, but I'll explain that later on in the presentation, as well as the different scores that are shown already on some of our partner websites like kayak.com, WeGo, Ixigo, etc. Some of these big meta searches and OTA sites that utilize TrustU's data. So first, this is a crazy image, and it probably doesn't make any sense to anybody on the call right now. But what I want to do is talk about the guest satisfaction survey and generating review content from that specifically, and how that ultimately can have an influence on the rates that you're charging. So first and foremost, we're looking at the guest satisfaction survey, and then we'll be getting into the actual monitoring solution and then looking at those different widgets. So looking at the survey itself, we actually had a big revamp of our survey product over the past couple of months, and some of the stuff that we're looking at today is relatively new. Looking here, you can see it just can be completely branded for whatever hotel it is, whether it's a individual property, a brand, or part of an overall chain. We can make it look and feel exactly the way that you want it, or you can create it yourselves in HTML and provide that to us to upload onto the platform itself. Here's an example of the email template that we can customize completely as well. This one is for the club members of Accor hotels. So specifically to anyone that's a part of that particular club would receive this email, which is targeted towards them versus a standard email that you may send out to both the club members as well as your business travelers and your family travelers. We can help you segment those different areas. Looking here, the biggest thing that sets TrustU apart in the marketplace, and this is actually really exciting. So when you're looking at all the reviews, I'll talk about it when we get to some of the live examples, but I'm sure nobody really wants to read through 1,000 reviews anymore, right? You don't want to read through all those reviews, take down notes, categorize certain areas of each review, and figure out, okay, what am I performing well at and what am I not performing well at? So to overcome that, people started asking these surveys, the guest satisfaction surveys, there we go, with multiple questions, maybe ranked on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you say our service was? Ranking on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you say that the food was in our restaurant? So you can collect this data and then report on this data to see what areas you may want to improve. The problem is when you're asking those types of questions, you may get a low response rate, especially if they're a 40, 50, 60 long questionnaire. Nobody wants to do that, nor does anybody really have time to do that. So what TrustU recommends is utilizing the user-generated content part, which is where we run our own sentiment analysis on all the open text reviews included in a survey here. So that's this open text box that you're seeing on the screen. I'll ask someone to free write, hey, I had a great time. The lobby was beautifully renovated, and I would definitely recommend all my friends stay there. The only issue was the food was a little cold at breakfast one morning, or something silly like that, whatever they may say. So we would categorize those for you and show, okay, there could be an improvement in the food at the restaurant, but the lobby was gorgeous, and it looks like it was renovated. So we would automatically separate that for you, and you're getting a higher response rate, more feedback from all the guests staying at the property, and all these scores have an influence on what you can charge because these reviews can be shown publicly. So here's an overall just view of the different segments that you can have it broken up into, whether you want to have a F&B, something specific for groups in the meetings industry, or wellness. Maybe you're asking for spa and fitness, whatever it may be. So there's different questionnaires that we can have, and based on the data that we can get from a PMS system, which is where a lot of the guest data would be saved, we can have some of these surveys be sent automatically. For example, that Le Club membership in Accor, if that was a part of the data we could receive, then we can send that specific survey directly to that individual, targeting them to help increase the response rate and also ask specific questions. So here within the survey itself, it's a lot of functionality. You can have the if-then type. So if I clicked leisure personal reasons, then you would have a question pop up down here. If I were to select business, then I would have a different sub-question pop up there. So here are just examples of different customer surveys that you can segment differently. So you've got the club again as an example, and here would just be your standard survey. Maybe it's for the F&B. So you're asking for the overall stay and just to rate a few different categories for you on the hotel. Once you collect that data, like I said, we do help segment that for you. And whether you're asking a question on 1 to 10, or you're having that open text where we run our sentiment analysis on it, we're going to show you a bunch of great information and be able to segment that information for you. So here's just an overview of what the actual survey tab looks like. And I know it may be hard to see if you're not familiar with TrustU and the different tabs within the platform itself, but this is exactly how it looks. So you would have all these open reviews, which we can translate, respond directly within the tool, or flag it as inappropriate, which would then go through another quality control check on our end to be removed. And that would be inclusive of curse words, slang, things that just aren't something that you would want to have on your website or posted publicly about you. You got the general questions. This is again just something that you can report on. The category scores, whether you want the ratings in internet, room, etc. Custom questions that you made up and asked yourself, broken up, as well as all the mailing statistics here to be able to see what were the sent emails, the ones that decided to opt out, and how many did you allocate towards the actual survey that you created yourself, or you maybe push them to write a response or a review about you on TripAdvisor. One thing to point out is that the surveys are available on iPads and all smartphone and technology of the same. So if you had iPads throughout the entire hotel, you wanted people to write feedback right then and there, then it would just be a link or a QR code that we can provide for you here that people could simply scan and write a review whenever they'd like. All these reviews are supported in multiple languages, or the surveys, excuse me, for 27 plus. So you would have a list here, and whenever anybody selected it, it would go to that default language for them. It's easy to set up. I'm not going to go through all of the setup information here on today's call. I just wanted to show you that we have a very easy walkthrough wizard that allows you to set up the general, what type of survey it is, the scale, the language, and then you can set up your welcome text, thank you text, the standard or custom questions, and then include some social sharing aspect as well, because we know that social sharing is extremely important in today's society, right? Something can go viral overnight, and all of a sudden you just had more marketing exposure than you've had in the last $5 million that you've spent on it by one simple thing that just happened to go viral. And then obviously the look and feel, as I said, can be completely customized for anybody. The last part here is really looking at the distribution itself. So you can upload the emails through copy and paste from Excel, CSV file, or an integration with the PMS system that the hotel is using. And then from there, setting it up, whether you want people to respond to that survey that you created, or maybe you want to push reviews on TripAdvisor to help increase your TripAdvisor score, Yelp, Holiday Check, Google Plus, whatever it may be. And there's actually some smart technology behind this where you can set it where only send the Google Plus link to people that have an @gmail.com email address. So they're already Gmail users and they can easily write a review. Same thing for Holiday Check. Maybe you just want that to go @DE email addresses or .de email addresses because you know that they would be more familiar with Holiday Check. So that's really it for the survey, just in a nutshell. You can have completely customizable, broken down in different segments, and then target those different groups based on whatever questions that you want to ask. So you don't have to ask questions that don't really apply to somebody, and you can hopefully increase your response rates and collect more or much better type data than you would if you just sent a general survey out to everybody. So next, we're going to talk about the monitoring itself. So this is where we sort of started the company, and this is where our bread and butter is. So all of the reviews that are written about a property, a lot of properties that I talk to may not even realize that they have reviews on websites like hotels.com or booking.com, and that may seem silly to some people on the line today, but you'd be surprised how many properties I talk to and their main focus is TripAdvisor. That's all they were really aware about. They go to TripAdvisor on a regular basis. Then we set them up with a Trust You account and they say, wow, I actually have reviews on Agoda. I have reviews on Ixigo and some of these international websites that they never even heard of. And there's good scores, or maybe there's negative scores, and it helps them understand the needs of the international travelers as well, as opposed to just the people traveling possibly domestically and writing things on TripAdvisor. So this is just an overall snapshot of our overall dashboard itself from a hotel perspective. So you've got the trust score, all the reviews, and you can break those down separately to see the individual review scores, the performances, the responses, your comp set analysis with in-depth details to the competitors, and then something separate for each of the different sources like TripAdvisor, hotels.com, etc. And all of this is available for the most part on mobile as well. So again, here's a look at the overall dashboard. That's all built on apps based on APIs. So we're constantly updating the data as we pull in more reviews, and we're aggregating all of this information across 200 plus different sources globally. So this would be a look from a corporate perspective. If you had multiple hotels within your brand or your chain and you wanted to break it down, maybe looking at worldwide, or you wanted to have it broken down on a Novotel worldwide, and then when I open that box there, you would actually see it broken down by region as well, and you can get a nice high-level summary. What's my overall score, number of reviews, popularity, etc. Lots of really in-depth detailed statistics that you can actually update and change and edit for whatever your needs are and your goals that you want to focus on to increase. The reviews themselves, as I said, when you click into them further, we run our sentiment analysis on that, and we actually have that in multiple languages. So here you can see the example. We're highlighting in green. Staff were very pleasant and friendly. A bit disappointed in the room. Was negative. Room was okay. Was neutral, highlighted in yellow. So instead of you having to read through hundreds, if not thousands of reviews for your property or multiple properties to understand what's happening between all of these, we do it for you. And the biggest thing too to point out is you could have a score of an 80 out of 100 where there's a lot of negative sentiment in there, where in general you may look at an 80 out of 100 and say, okay, that guest was happy, cool, I'm not even going to look at it and I'm going to move on. But you can see that sofa bed was very uncomfortable, toilet separate from the bathroom, very small and no sink. So some of the complaints that these customers had, and you may not have realized that unless you actually drilled into the review itself to read it. So we will take all that information and actually segment that out for you. So here's a look at the reviews tab within the dashboard that we actually set up like a inbox within Outlook. So you can see we have all the reviews in here that you would be able to click on individually and then see a snapshot of the review itself, and then have some action items, whether you wanted to respond to the review, share it directly to social media if it was positive or negative, or excuse me, positive, you wouldn't want to share a negative review to social media, or maybe you wanted to translate it into multiple languages because it wasn't in your default language. So the biggest thing to point out on this screen, that pain point that I talked about a few times already, if you have hundreds of reviews, let's just say on average your hotel is getting anywhere from 20 to 50 reviews per week. People wear multiple hats in the property, and they may not have enough time to read through all those reviews and be able to get to all of them, and they don't really know how to prioritize it. Do I prioritize my TripAdvisor reviews? Do I prioritize Yelp? Do I just look at negative or positive, or where do I even go to begin here? All of these areas on the left-hand side of the screen, we allow you to filter. So maybe you wanted to filter for scores, not 0 to 100, but you want to look at 0 to 50. So you're going to focus mainly on the negative reviews. Maybe you want to drop the sources filter down and you only want to look at TripAdvisor and hotels.com to start. And then from there, your laundry list of 30, 40, 50 reviews maybe drops to 10. Then you can start on those, respond to those, take care of them, and then readjust the filters for the next category that you want to go after. So it really helps manage the reviews that are coming in and also understand what the priorities should be when it comes to responding to those reviews. The alerts are very important as well. So we send multiple alerts out per day that will give you a nice summary of all the reviews being written about your property. You can actually customize these alerts to be only positive alerts, positive and neutral, only negative alerts, all types of reviews, or maybe you want to just focus on keywords that we would run our sentiment analysis on and then send you a summary based on that. So what a lot of people do is they'll put in keywords like bed bugs, and they may spell it a few different ways, and that way they know anytime there's a review that mentions bed bugs, they can get to it as quickly as possible and work to fix it and hopefully get this review either taken offline or get that person that wrote the review to write another review about what you've done to fix that situation, because we all know that bed bugs in a hotel can be pretty detrimental to the business that you get in the future. So as I mentioned, we have the ability to look at 27 different languages. So here you can respond in multiple languages or respond in your own personal language. But you can also translate anything else, whether it's Chinese, Japanese, maybe it's Arabic. You translate it, you understand what that means in English, and then you write a response to that in English. So you have the ability to do all the above. And as I mentioned, you can share positive reviews directly to social channels. So here's a great example of Hilton Warsaw that had a very positive review, and this hotel may want to share this directly to their Facebook page or to their Twitter account. Spread the good news about this great stay that somebody just had and try to spread that word, and hopefully it takes off viral and gets some marketing for you. And then the competitors, also very important here. The thing to point out about the competitors, it's all public information. So something that might be very surprising to you, you can actually pull in all of your competitors' data directly into your dashboard. So the different slides that we just looked at, looking at the reviews, the sentiment analysis, the scores, whether it's performance, responses, etc., you can have all of that information, not just in the competitor area of the tool, but you can have all of your competitor hotels information loaded directly into your dashboard, because again, it's all public knowledge. So it's pretty interesting and a pretty powerful tool to understand your competitors' pros and cons, and then you can obviously make some choices around that to increase your market share in whatever market that you're in. Here we're looking at social, so I know we're jumping through a lot of stuff right now, so try to stay with me when it comes to social, because you can share the reviews directly to social networks, looking at Facebook and Twitter. But when we're looking at posts on social networks, we also aggregate all of that information for you in a nice dashboard that you're seeing today. So here, the Sofitel Munich property, you can see all the tweets that they got, the different information about Facebook, Foursquare, Clout, everything that you see on the screen. And the big thing to point out here is this particular dashboard within the social tab, just like any of the other tabs that we've looked at already, is completely customizable. So if you don't care about Weibo, in this case, this account isn't set up because this hotel does not have a Weibo account, you can delete that tile. You can delete as many tiles as you'd like and have maybe 1, 2, 3 tiles, or you can have as many tiles as you'd like. So the whole idea behind it is let us show you a high-level view of some of the high-level scores, and then when you click the tiles themselves, it actually gives you a lot more in-depth information. So it's our gradual reveal concept. Instead of logging in and being having paralysis by analysis, so to speak, you're able to see the high-level views and then click into each of those to drill into much more detailed information. So looking at reporting, we looked at all the different tabs, whether it's the overall portfolio from a corporate perspective, a dashboard from a hotel perspective, your comp sets information or your social information. You can easily report on any of that data. So you would simply add the data to the report, which if we get to the point down the road that you would like to have a more in-depth live demonstration, we can show you how to easily just click the buttons that add the specific data points to the reports, make that report a one-time deal, or maybe you want to have it set up on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis that would be automatically generated and sent to you on whatever schedule you set up. That way, sometimes people don't even log into their TrustU account except a few times a month because they just want to get high-level statistics and they know that their team is taking care of responding to the reviews on a regular basis. Or maybe they just get weekly summaries and they take those summaries and then they respond to them there in one day, and that's how that property likes to operate. So all of this information can be exported in Excel or PDF. So Excel is obviously much better for the in-depth data and running some internal analysis on it, and PDF is great for presentations. Maybe one of the properties you really need to renovate the TVs, and you finally have a ton of reviews through TrustU that you've been able to aggregate on all these sources of clients complaining about the TVs. So you're able to export that information, bring it to the ownership group and say, guys, I've been asking for new TVs for years now. Here's proof. I finally have it. Look how many people are complaining about our TVs. And hopefully that would help move along the renovation process on replacing the televisions in that scenario. And then lastly, you have some goals and tasks that you can create, whether it's for yourself or somebody else within your property or group of properties. So if you wanted to say, hey, we need to have a targeted response rate of X%, I'm going to set those and then make sure that everybody's hitting those goals on a weekly basis or monthly basis. And then maybe you have the overall scores that you want to be set to a certain level. So you want to increase your TripAdvisor ranking or whatever it may be. We can help you set up some of these key performance indicators and then help you track those as time goes on. Here, the whole tool that we talked about was for hotels specifically, but we understand that many hotels have restaurants within the hotels. So we actually have a separate restaurant platform that looks and feels identical to the hotel platform. And it's a quick link at the top of the page to allow you to toggle back and forth between each without needing separate usernames. And then that way you can collect reviews and the same sort of data and have our sentiment analysis on everything when it comes to the TripAdvisor reviews, or maybe it's opentable.com, or as you can see here, Zagat. There's a number of sources that we aggregate these reviews from for restaurants as well. So it's really a whole package when you're looking at an individual property on what you can utilize TrustU for. So the last two sections of this presentation, we're gonna go through just the marketing side of things and how the data that you're collecting, whether it's through the guest satisfaction survey part of it is or you're collecting through the monitoring, so everything that's being put onto Yelp and Google Plus and the different sources we talked about is being shown publicly, and how you can really influence that score, which again, at the end of the day, the higher the score, the more you're able to charge. People are willing to pay an extra $10 a night for a property that has a very high rating versus a property that has a mediocre rating, and they're gonna save $10. You know, me personally, I'm sure most of the people in today are willing to spend that extra $10 a night to get a much better experience. So looking at the marketing solution, here's an example of one of the widgets that we provide based on the user-generated content that you can collect through our survey platform. So here you can see verified guest reviews, and this is how it would appear on your website. So we can provide you this widget to put on your website or on multiple websites. And this will not only have an SEO increase for the search engine optimization, but it will also help keep people on your site. The number one goal here is when people find your brand.com website, whatever that may be, is to keep them on that website, right? You don't want them to then go to Google and then go to TripAdvisor or Expedia or any of the OTAs to read reviews about your property. And now all of a sudden you've got 5,000 other hotels in your market on the same exact page where that person can easily book with a competitor. Or if they decide to still go with your hotel, now you're stuck paying the fees to whatever that OTA may be. So the idea here is to not only increase your search engine optimization with this fresh content down here, but also keep people on your website when they do stumble across it, booking directly. So these are examples of just some of the widget content that we can do. So you can see a 100% SEO friendly integration. Here's a mock-up of what we created for the Hotel Novotel in Paris with their user-generated content. And if I were to click on these different categories, whether it's family, solo, couples, or business, I know that may be sort of hard to see here on this particular screenshot, it would actually segment these reviews based on those different categories. So if I'm traveling with my fiance, then I may only want to look at couples, and then I'll be able to see reviews specifically from couples, which are going to really apply to me because I don't really care what the families or the solo travelers had to say in this particular instance. This is another example of a widget from our survey itself. So you can see Ridges, one of our clients based out of Australia and New Zealand. They actually, all of the content that they collect through the open text survey that we provide, they post it directly to their website, whether it's negative or positive, they post them all. It has that SEO benefit, and it also helps set expectations. So one thing that we always get, the question that comes up is, can I show only positive reviews on my website if I wanted to move forward with something like this? The answer is no, and we also have a reason why we don't allow that. So put yourself in a traveler's shoes for a second, and let's pretend that you were going to book your vacation in somewhere tropical. Let's say you're going to Bora Bora on your 10-year wedding anniversary, whatever it may be. You're looking at all these reviews and it's only positive stuff. That's it. You don't see anything negative about the hotel. You plan to go here. You're really excited because it's going to be the best vacation that you've had in years, if not your entire life. You get to the hotel and now you start seeing little things going wrong. Your expectations are so high, those little things that are going wrong probably wouldn't have been an issue for you beforehand. But since you saw nothing but positive reviews, they're now an issue for you. And you're going to have a complaint, and you may write a negative review about that in response. So the whole idea about these reviews are not only to increase your SEO and to keep people on your website to book directly, but also help set the expectations. So if somebody saw here, I was charged $60 for parking twice on my credit card. When I called 2 days later, they promised I would be reversed 48 hours later, 2 weeks, still no refund. Maybe you had no idea that it was $30 a day for what it seems like to park at this hotel. You get there and now it's 30 days. Oh boy, that's a lot of money. I don't want to spend that. And you're going to write a negative review about the parking. But here you can see, okay, so I can see it's 30 bucks a day. That's something I can plan for. I got it. So it helps set those expectations and prevent future negative reviews. Like I said, it's mobile ready. So we have an application for the hotels to utilize as part of one of our platform packages to be able to look at all the sentiment analysis that we do, have the ability to look at all the different types of social media, as well as their individual hotel information and reviews if they wanted to read the reviews and have a link to respond to those reviews as well. So lastly, the meta review and the importance of the meta review when it comes to marketing and how this can really influence what people are booking on different websites or directly through you. So this is just a screenshot of the review itself, of the meta review. As you can see, this is based on 697 verified reviews across the web. This is inclusive of all reviews that we can aggregate for a property across the web. The only website that is not included in this particular meta review is TripAdvisor. The reason for that We want to focus on verified reviews. Now, we understand that there's a few other websites out there that allow people to write reviews, whenever they want to, like Yelp, for example, but Yelp doesn't have as much of an influence as TripAdvisor right now. So we removed TripAdvisor because I could technically go onto TripAdvisor and write a review about a property that I've never stayed at. Now, does this happen very often anymore? I really don't think so. TripAdvisor also has a very, very good fraud detection when it comes to reviews, but I'm sure that there still are a decent amount of reviews that come through that may not be the most accurate when it comes to who stayed at the property and when. So many of the other sites have implemented certain processes like Expedia.com. I can't write a review on Expedia or Booking.com unless I have my own booking or booking reference number from their site. That's the only way that I'm going to be able to write a review. So you know that I stayed at that property and you know that I had an experience there. So that's the reason why we include all these other sites, but we actually removed TripAdvisor from the equation. So this meta review, when it gets on the technical end, and I'm not sure if we have any technical people on the call today, but if you were to utilize JSON formatting, which is just a technical term of allowing you to basically pick and choose certain areas of this widget to use and not show certain areas. So the easiest example to show, let's say that your hotel or your group of hotels was mainly known for couples, family, and business, but you really didn't have individual travelers that stayed there. So including this solo breakdown of reviews really wasn't going to be anything that you needed. So you could not include the solo part. So you would only allow people to click on business, family, couples, or all, or for that matter, maybe you're only a couples resort. So you have all and couples, and that's what you wanted to break it down into. So you have the ability to really customize this to look and feel how you want it on your website. As I mentioned, we do have partnerships with many of the OTAs and intermediaries. The reason that these partnerships exist is from that pain point that I've mentioned now a few times. Nobody wants to read through hundreds, if not thousands, of reviews from the hotel level. And especially nobody wants to read through hundreds, if not thousands, of reviews from the customer level. I personally don't have time to go through and read through 50 reviews for 10 different hotels that I'm analyzing to have my family vacation at. I just want a very high level, hey, based on all these reviews that you guys have, what are you good at and what are you bad at? And let me make my decision from there because I have a lot of other stuff that I have to get to today. So Kayak has taken the data that we aggregate and they use that now on their website live. If you do kayak.com and you search for any of your hotels after today's call, you'll see some of the review data here, and this is all powered by TrustYou. So that becomes important for our clients because they're able to break this information down much more in much more greater detail than what you see here. So you can actually see, okay, what about the service? Was it the friendliness? Was it the front desk service? Was it the room service? Who in the service category was making the scores get so high or fall so low, whatever it may be. And you can see all the different reviews associated with each of those categories, giving you in-depth detail enough so to where you can make action items out of, okay, this is what we need to change and adjust to be able to increase these scores across the board. As soon as you make those adjustments and your scores start increasing, they will increase here on websites like kayak.com. Another example, same situation, just a different look and feel. As I mentioned, a lot of these, if you use JSON formatting, you have the ability to change the way it looks and pull and decide not to pull certain information. So WeGo.com pulls it a little bit differently. And you can see here the way they have it, including the hotel types and everything else. You can see down here, powered by TrustYou. On the individual brand.com site, this is the way the meta review could look. So here on Steigenberger, it's a European brand hotel group. So on all of their individual property sites, they have an area for reviews that they show this particular meta review, which again, the idea is to keep people here. They have it under the guest reviews section here. Keep people on their site and then booking directly through their booking engine there. This is another great example. Valimar, they actually use both the meta review as well as our location widget, which will give you reviews and scores on the different locations surrounding the hotel, whether it's the restaurants, the airport, the distance to the airport and what people are saying about the airport, the different amusement parks and theme parks, whatever it may be. So you give somebody that's searching your site a really good idea of what's around the hotel, and not only what's around the hotel, but how good were those things. So this is an example of the locations widget here, and unfortunately it's cut off at the bottom of the screen, so I can't show you all of the different breakdown of the airport scores and restaurant scores and stuff, but you can see the different pinpoints there, where if I were to click this information, you would see those reviews and scores associated with each. So just like everything else in the tool, you can have it set up in multiple languages. So here's an example of what a hotel brand, a hotel, individual hotel again, may use if they know they have people traveling from all over the world to their site. So they want to make sure that they're showing this meta review in multiple languages. So you can allow people to pick and choose whatever their language is when they do fall upon this review section of the website. So becoming the reputation standard, what we're saying for 2015 is you're going to see a lot of trust you branding. We're very confident in this because of the partnerships that we've developed and the ratings that we've gotten on our data being so accurate, that when it comes from a consumer's perspective, to be clear, we will never be a B2C company. We will always be a business-to-business company working with hotels, restaurants, and then the different players in the travel space. Our biggest goal is to influence the travel industry, not become the next TripAdvisor. But based on the branding and the exposure that we're getting, the Trust You scoring system is going to be a standard by 2015, as it's already becoming a standard across many of the websites that I showed you today. And just to go a little bit further on that, we actually have well over 20 different, actually I think 30 different partnerships now that they're using our data for the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of consumers that book through their search engines on a regular basis. So recommendations for the meta reviews, use the meta reviews on the brand.com, deploy for mobile interfaces, activate that user-generated feed for the meta reviews. So what that means in particular, we looked at the surveys in the beginning of the presentation, right? So you remember that open text box. Well, all of that data that you're collecting can have an influence directly on the meta reviews. So if I skip back here and I go to kayak.com, if you see that you had a low score in food, then you can start asking your customers to write a review about your food after you've made some changes. So maybe the cook that you had wasn't doing a good job, or maybe there was something about the dining experience, the ambiance that just wasn't good, and you've made an adjustment, and you've got a lot of positive feedback already on that. So start having people write that user-generated content about their dining experience, which will have an influence directly on these scores that are shown to millions of people on a regular basis. So that's what I mean, and let me skip back here. That's what I mean by activating the UGC feed, the user-generated content for meta reviews. And it goes hand in hand with improving the weaker categories with the dedicated topic questions in the user-generated content. So we just use food as an example. If you notice a low score in service and you made some adjustments, now ask people to write more information about your service. So